Good afternoon. I want to say that I've done this loads of times. I haven't. This is my first time doing live at the OER conference on this new platform, so it's very, very exciting. So I won't waste any time because, as I said, I'm delighted to introduce some very good friends from Dublin City University there. To Orna, Farrell, James Brunton, Eamon, Costello, Caitriona, Matthew Waters, Aodan Farrelly, Cliona, Olohan, and Aleksandra Shornikova. And as I understand, I think it's Cliona, Orna, and James will be leading off. So, open course, open textbook, hashtag open teach. So, we'll start away.
Thanks, Tom. Thanks for that lovely introduction. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the session. As you can see, it's a bit of an army of a group, this presentation. But I suppose it takes a community for this project to have been so successful. So today we're going to talk to you about the Open Teach project, which was a funded project in Ireland, funded by the National Forum. And the aim of the project was to create resources and supporting materials to help people learn to teach online. The website is there and the Twitter handle as well. So if you feel like tweeting us or having a look at the resources, please go ahead. I'm going to share them in the Discord channel later on as well. So it was a big project team. The project ended in May 2020, I'm going to say, but I'm guessing. But it was a project based in the Open Education Unit in DCU. So it had a couple of different phases. We started off by doing a needs analysis, talking to online students and online teachers about what they thought made for effective teaching online. Then Caitriona did a massive literature review, which is a great report called Teaching Online is Different. Check it out. Then using those two pieces of information or data, we started designing the course. And we used a couple of different methodologies. We used ABC, we used design thinking, we piloted resources, got feedback, iterated. It turned out to be a short Moodle course, which was open and online. And it also produced some digital guides, which were also openly licensed. Following the first run of the course, which took place deep in the pandemic in March 2020, we created an evaluation report. And then the final step, which isn't on the slide, is what's happening right now, is the creation of the open textbook. So here are all the outputs in one beautiful picture. There, the top one there is the course. And you can see the different reports. And on the far right, we have the open textbook. So just some data I put together recently for the National Forum, and I thought it might be interesting. This is the kind of impact as of February 2021 of the Open Teach project. So you can see there huge web traffic, lots of Twitter activity, all the videos from the courses, are on YouTube. The Teaching Online is Different report, the literature analysis, 31 citations as of yesterday, and 5,900 reads on ResearchGate. So huge interest in that report. It was very timely, I suppose. And you can see we've had 2 course runs and over 1,000 participants, 200 completers, which isn't bad for an open online course. James, I think you're going to take this slide.
Yes, and just someone was asking about, a link, basically, because it's hard to put links in any of the chats that are clickable. openteach.ie. If you go there, you'll find all the resources and reports and lots of good stuff. So when we were putting this course together, we used the ABC curriculum design, online learning design, or learning design approach. We found this to be really effective for doing so. We got together, we were facilitated by a colleague from the Teaching Enhancement Unit in DCU, Claire Gormley, and in about half a day, we went from just a bundle of ideas about what this course could be to knowing, okay, this is what it's going to be, this is what its scope is going to be, this is what we want it to be. We want it to be a realistic, doable course for busy academics. We want it to be online. We want it to be flexible in terms of engagement expectations. And we want it to focus on these real core elements of online learning, social presence, facilitating discussions, collaborating online, live online teaching and supporting students online. And we wanted to kind of give them basic pedagogical knowledge, give them like the basics, and then get into a scenario to really contextualize it. And of course, it had to be online, because both, how else were you going to give people a flexible course, and how are you going to give people the experience of being online learners, which is really useful for learning how to facilitate other actual online learners. I think that's that. I think that's it for that slide. So what we ended up with was, as Orna said, this this Moodle-based course. We ran it for the first time. What month? What month was that? Someone like, what was it?
March.
May 2020? March 2020.
No, it was deep.
It was March 2020.
It.
Yeah. So yeah, and I mean, this is the thing. No project plan survives contact with a global pandemic. So we started preparing this pilot as a small scale, full on sort of facilitation course. And then the pandemic happened, and everyone in the world turned into a brand new online learner, not just our kind of principal target for this project initially, which were part-time adjunct faculty who often don't get the same opportunities for CPD that other people do. So, but all of a sudden, everyone in the world thought this was the exact course for them. So instead, we ended up with about 450 participants, and we just had to rapidly adapt our facilitation model to try to facilitate those more MOOC numbers than small scale report numbers. Do you want to go on to the next slide? And it went very well. So we ran the course over a couple of weeks and did an evaluation at the end. And the feedback that we got was extremely positive. The people who took the course reported that they well, first of all, they gave good feedback on the course design, which was useful. You know, we had a couple of things to tweak after that, but the actual course design got very good feedback. They gave good feedback about how the course helped them build confidence about teaching online. And this was both because they got to see things from an online learner's perspective, and because the course gave them ideas about, you know, how to form strategies for engaging students in synchronous and asynchronous context or online context. And then also it helped them to develop new knowledge. That's like the bits where we were giving them just full on straight, here's some basic information about online pedagogy, online teaching techniques, and then that being contextualized in strategy, in scenarios where they could talk through and talk with others about that stuff. And then the only other thing we haven't put on that slide is it helped them build a community in that MOOC to help show them how getting people into a community online can help them learn from each other and help teach each other. Back to you, Orna.
Thanks, James. So that's the project, which is finished. And then the next phase, I mean, we've always been interested in open textbooks. We've been talking about them for quite a while. Eamon in particular is very keen on open textbooks and has done a bit of research on it. I know Tom as well. And one of the reasons the idea for the open textbook came about was that sharing Moodle files is really hard. Caitriona, you might. Do you want to come in and tell a little bit about the problem there?
Yeah, essentially, a lot of the materials were developed using H5P, and there were a lot of embedded links. And the particular version of Moodle that we were running didn't allow the redirection of those links once you brought them into other Moodle platforms. So we tried a few workarounds, and essentially anyone who wanted to use this would have to upgrade to the latest Moodle platform. So it was problematic. So it's one to remember that H5P and those don't use relative addressing in their links.
Thanks, Caitriona. Yeah, but I think one option we also you thought of we could publish it to Moodle.net. So we may still do that. Or we might rework it slightly formatting wise, so there's less of that linking problem. But the big solution then was to make an open textbook, because this project is all about openness in terms of sharing. Every single thing we created was Creative Commons licensed, from videos to H5P to the reports. And this was a lovely way of bringing all that together. And also I was thinking about the long-term benefits of having it in this format. So we got a Pressbook license very generously given to us by Rebus. They ran a bit of a project during, it was March or April, to help people pivot online due to the pandemic. So we got a lovely pro Pressbooks license. I talked about the why already, and now we'll talk a bit about the how. So one thing that became very clear when myself and Matthew and Cliona and Aodan and Alex began trying to turn this into an open textbook, so that's where the other half of the team come in, was reverse engineering a book from a course and reports and blog posts is not as straightforward as we might have thought. So it very much was an exercise in backwards design. And one thing that stood out to me is after we'd imported all the content and had chapters and things like that, and it looked pretty good, is when you read it, the language in a course is different to the language in a book. So, you know, the rewriting, the kind of contextualizing that maybe it is more implicit in a course and needs to be more explicit in a book. So here are the kind of stages we went through creating the book. Planning, obviously, because we love a bit of learning design. So having a look through what was there and remembering what was there and thinking about how to fit it in. Looking through we had a lovely blog post series following the first course run. So there's about 15 or 16 blog posts from participants and from different facilitators. So trying to capture those views as well. And then the reports themselves, we had lovely quotes from students and lovely quotes from educators. So trying to integrate some of that material. So again, we started just bringing it over, creating chapter headings, experimenting with formatting and design and layout. Some of the team had experience with WordPress, some not. So, you know, there was a bit of getting up to speed. And then a kind of a second cycle where new content and new writing and rewriting was happening. So where we are at the moment is at the review and edit kind of stage. It's almost there. My plan had been to present fully beautiful and published today, but that plan did not happen. So Cliona is going to tell you a little bit about what the Pressbook platform is like to work on. Over to you, Cliona. You're on mute.
There's always one. Thanks, Orna. So as Orna mentioned, some people in the team had used Pressbooks, WordPress before, but I was one of the people that hadn't used it before. And I think this is important to mention because I did get up to speed with it really quickly because I found that it was quite an intuitive platform. And the reason for that is when you look at this screen here, you can see the dashboard, it has the table of contents in there, and then the settings all along the side. So it is clear and simple. And one of the good things about it is that you can have multiple administrators. So Orna added us all to the book once she set the shell up, and we were all able to use it at the same time. We sectioned it off, we were all doing different things. So kind of sped the process up because we were all able to use it at the same time. And I think one benefit of it is that it had preset options. So that would be kind of like the style and the theme and that sort of thing. But it also had preset text boxes, and these text boxes came with suggestive headings such as learning outcomes and examples and that sort of thing. So it was really prompting good pedagogy, but still keeping it very customizable at the same time. One thing that we noticed was that the formatting could be a bit finicky, but overall, we do think it turned out to be a professional looking resource. So then we're going on to the features and content types that we use. So on the screen here, there's a screenshot of a video that we used, a H5P, and then some takeaway resources at the end of each chapter. So it was great that we could hyperlink in there. But one of the main things that stood out for us was H5P, because as mentioned, we are avid users of H5P, and H5P was used throughout the original online course. So it was great that we could upload those into the Pressbook. We could edit them within the Pressbook. We could create new ones in there if we wanted. So it just gave us a lot of leeway. So it was great to have that functionality. Another thing is that we could embed YouTube videos directly into the Pressbook, so there's no messing around, not too much messing with HTML or anything like that. So it's quick and easy. Then we had there's also a media storage section, so media library. So everything's just in there, readily available to reuse. And there are other plugins that we didn't look at too much, but they would definitely benefit others. So overall, so many different content types can be used. We used it really to make it more engaging and interactive because although it is a book, it's an online book. So we wanted to distinguish between being a book and a course, but still keep that book element. So, you know, using Pressbooks, it was clear that it was open source ethics is at the heart of Pressbook, and I think that's clear. So back to you, Orna.
Thanks, Cliona. And we're on to questions now, but if I have time, I would like to demo the book, if that's allowed. Just even flick through a chapter. Do I have time? Oh, wise ones.
Yeah, well, we don't appear to have too many questions. Bar, can the Moodle course be exported for remixing? So if you just, I think you've sort of answered that. If you can answer that quickly, then you can just give me a quick demo.
Sure. Yes. So the long and the short of it is, yeah, you can export an entire backup file, but as Caitriona mentioned, the problems with the linking happen. So the other option is to publish it to Moodle.net. So that's an option we still intend to explore.
And just to add in there that we had also created a document to go with the Moodle backup that indicated where those links had to be changed. So, you know, you won't have to trawl through the whole thing. They're there and ready for you to change.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So just get in touch.
And we have shared it about 20 something times already. It's just that we realized after sharing it a few times, Caitriona, people were getting frustrated. So I give a quick demo of the book, if that's cool, for a minute or two. A completed looking chapter. So one thing that's also very nice is you can export the entire book as a PDF, a very nicely formatted PDF. You could also publish it as an EPUB. You can get it into the Amazon store. There's all sorts of stuff that is possible. Now,
just to say on that as well, Orna, when you do them as the PDF, although it removes the videos and the H5Ps, it does give you the exact hyperlink for you to type it into the web if you wanted. So that's a really good feature.
Yeah, I like that too, Cliona. I was looking at that on the PDF. So there you can see there's some of the embedded H5P, all the interactivity works. Again, another. So you can see embed the video. And we have added some new stuff. I mean, there's new paragraphs about things like the pandemic context, drawing on some really nice work that's been done over the past year that we may have, wouldn't have had in the original course. And also using things like these lovely diagrams are from one of the reports. The teaching online is different. So I think we've taken the best bits out of the whole project and brought them together. Does anyone have any questions about Pressbooks or while we're having a look?
There's a question there from Louise Drum.
Yeah.
I know got sponsored. What would be the pricing?
Well, you can use it, the free version, Louise, for free, but you can't have the embedded H5P. But I think the costing is around $150 for a pro version, if I'm right. It's not very expensive at all. And as I said, we got these free license from Rebus. We appear to have gotten multiple book licenses. I didn't realize.
Don't tell them that. But I think when we were doing the training with that group, that initiative through which we got that we got access to this facility, they were saying something about like regularly to sort of bring in Pressbooks and use it. It's more of an institutional decision. Like I think it can be a bit tricky to just go get one, or am I remembering?
No, you can buy an individual one. You can buy an individual one, James, but they do seem to want to go on more institutional arrangement. I'm pretty sure Galway have just done that very thing. If there's any Galway types around, I think they've just...
Yeah, Galway are using it a lot, rolling it out for a lot of their educators.
Can I just ask Orna? I think it's really interesting about this difference between a book and a course and the language of that. And I don't know whether it's even a question for you to talk a bit more about that. I find that really interesting, or maybe a question for our participants as well, as to what they think is the difference between a course or a book, or if you're looking for something, what do you need? Do you need a course? Do you need a book? Do you need both? Which do you want? If you had to have one, I suppose you'd have a course. But is like a book a secondary thing? Is it something that a student can take away with them more easily afterwards? Is it less disposable maybe than a course? Has it got more sustainability, longevity? I think that's a nice aspect to this project. It's living on in the book, because the project is actually over, but we're still here talking about it. It's a really nice thing. People are off doing other things, but still connecting us up. So I guess maybe a book is kind of like a more long running thing.
That was my thoughts, Eamon, the sustainability thing. You know,
I think the Open Teach course in itself, when it was run, particularly initially, it was a very interactive course. So it was a course that you were kind of there for. It wasn't really something you took necessarily just in your own time, or lots of elements were in your own time. There's a lot of interaction on it, which of course you won't have the same with the book.
I think it speaks to the different life stages of a project. You know, we never would have thought of an open textbook at the start. That wasn't what this was about. But when you're in the dissemination stage, then at a certain point, it becomes this really useful way of disseminating the information to other people. And like, I think that one of the strengths of this project is the bare bones of it are super flexible. You can turn it into that really rich, small group, highly facilitated course. You could also augment it, and what we ended up kind of doing, you could turn it into a MOOC and have as many people on it as possible. You just have to take some of the high interactive stuff out of it, or you can turn it with a lot of effort into an open textbook and say, here it is in this highly pick it up and take it away format.
Yeah, Gabby is saying as well exactly what you're saying, James. She's saying it's an unplugged type of resource. You can take it with you without Wi-Fi or whatever. You can download it and keep it. And Louise is asking about versions, editions. Can you update the contents of the book? What about updating the contents?
Oh yeah, live. The same as a WordPress site, Louise. That's what's so interesting. Like you just turn the edit button on. You know, I know you can do versions, as in, you know, copy the whole book and do version 2 that way as well. But it's you can use it kind of as a living, breathing place. I mean, I know Tony Bates with his was one of the first open textbooks I saw. He's created an entire version 2, but it's very flexible.
Yeah. Actually, just want to draw attention to Cliona and BC campus. If people haven't come across there, I think you should definitely check it out. There's a whole host of stuff there to do some great work there in BC campus. And
that's where we got a lot of the ideas. Like, we spent some time looking at other open textbooks and having a look at how they were put together. And there's the one thing I'd say, it's a fair bit of work. I mean, I don't know, Aodan, how many weeks were you working on it?
Yeah, again, that was one thing we probably didn't kind of realize at the very start, and it took a few of us to get going. But again, it is a very nice tool to be using as well, very clean infrastructure. But then it's a lot of smaller things as well, as making sure your color coordinating certain aspects. So let's say you have learning outcomes here, it should always be the same color. And a lot of those kind of smaller things that did take a bit longer in the end, but it was a good challenge to be working on.
Very good. That was a nice shout out. So is anybody else, are we happy enough? I think that's really good. I think it's certainly a good lesson there, and I think Aodan or Eamon sort of does pose a question: at what point does a course book or a book become, you know, it's thought that was an interesting thing, but certainly in terms of the longevity, and what you call it, you helped Tony. Oh, very good. Came to us and they helped Tony Bates create that book. I'd say if you haven't read it, it's brilliant. So any other final points from people, or any of the team want to just give a final shout out to anything? I think it's a great piece of work. Great to see so many people getting involved. And I think, as I said, the only thing, the hardest question of all, Orna, when's it coming out?
Oh, very soon, Tom. Very soon. No, it is. It's in the final stages, so it's kind of a bit of editing. So I'm hoping in the next month or so. But you know yourself. But listen, thanks for having us. It's been a lovely session, and thanks to everyone involved in the project at all its different stages of the life cycle. So it's lovely to be here at the end of it, telling people about what happened rather than the start of it.
absolutely. So. Okay, Christina, I don't know what happens now, because I mean, the thing about it is we have a fabulous person in the background, Christina, who's doing all the work and making us all look really good and sort of, so I'm literally, so yeah, round of applause from everybody, virtual applause for the team and for Christina. As I said, I just get to open my mouth every now and again, but apart from that, I'm doing all the easy bits, so it's just very good to see all.
Nom nom nom.